Welcome, everyone. Lovely to be with you all. We'll start this meeting with a brief guided meditation, and then you're welcome to discuss and pose whatever question you may have. So for now, just sit comfortably. You're welcome to either close your eyes or look within. And simply welcome your experience, whichever way it's appearing to you right now. The sensations within your body, whatever thoughts, images may be appearing to you. You don't need to do anything. You don't need to try to improve your experience or resolve any issues. Simply rest as being, as presence. Which is not an activity. It's that which we are, is this aware presence. The reality which perceives this perception, but is not a perceivable or a perceived form. Resting as presence is effortless. If you're doing an effort, it's the wrong direction. It's a form of relaxation into our true nature. Which is effortlessly aware and effortlessly peaceful. Not seeking anything. What appears to you, whether it's a thought or a perception or a sensation, whatever appears to you, has a form. But you, the reality which perceives, are not a form which is perceived. As awareness, there are no boundaries, no distinctions, no separation. It's one ocean, which is the ocean of our true nature and the nature of the universe. Freedom is your true nature. Not the freedom of the body, not the freedom of the mind. It's the freedom of being, of presence, of consciousness. Which is the reality that perceives this perception right now. And knows that it is. Freedom is not the freedom of a person. Bodies are limited, minds are limited. But your reality, that which you truly are, the reality which perceives right now, is not a limited form with limited freedom. When you imagine yourself to be a man or a woman, a person, you have reduced your true freedom, your infinite freedom, to the freedom of a body, the freedom of a mind, which is limited. You don't need to do that. You don't need to define yourself in any way. In this moment, effortlessly, you hear these words. It's not a male awareness or a female awareness which hears these words. It's not a personal awareness or personal consciousness. In the absence of the belief in a personal limited entity, awareness is boundaryless, edgeless, and formless. We all know freedom and happiness. We don't need anybody to teach us about it. We don't need to go to the university to learn about freedom and happiness. We know it because we are it. But it's not the limited freedom of a person. It's God's freedom, which you know as your freedom. The love, the freedom, the peace that you seek, the happiness that you seek is not out there somewhere for you to attain or to reach by some ingenious means. Whatever you may attain or achieve, you may also lose. But that which you are, that which is, cannot be gained or lost. Okay, so if you have any questions, anything you would like to discuss, please unmute yourself. Any questions? Yes, hello, Vislav.
Hi, Magdi. This is Wes. I attended your meetings a couple of years ago.
Yes,
when I was in Virginia.
I remember.
Now I'm zooming from Florida.
Nice to see you.
The question is, I just attended 2 days of the Society for Consciousness Research, and your topic for today was like completion of these 2 days, which is question of whether I have freedom and what kind of freedom it is. And I approach this from the place of healing. Healing is my profession and my personal exploration. And what is the freedom in the context of healing? Or is it healing free to heal? It's...
Yes. And, yes, freedom is healing. Love is healing. Peace is healing. Happiness is healing. Because freedom there is no opposition. It's not partial freedom or partial happiness. Yes, you're free to leave your house Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, but Thursday and Friday and Saturday, Sunday, you're locked into your house. Freedom is absolute. And freedom and joy and happiness and peace, they're not separate things. It's a package deal in a way. When we are free, we're happy, we're joyful, we're peaceful. But for an individual, when you believe yourself to be limited in any way, you believe yourself to be a body, for example, a body, mind, a person, when you encapsulate the freedom, universal freedom, God's freedom, the freedom of being, the freedom of consciousness, when you encapsulate this freedom into a known entity, whichever way you define yourself, whichever way you define that which is inside this capsule, then there is a limited freedom. There is, of course, a certain degree of freedom for the person, within the capsule, there is a certain degree of freedom. But there are boundaries. There are boundaries between the limited freedom of the encased entity, the defined entity, and between universal freedom. So any form of freedom is healing, but limited freedom is healing to a limited degree, and limitless freedom is healing to a limitless degree. When we live each in our own way, defining ourselves in some limited form, in some limited manner, which when we identify ourselves with, for example, the most common is the body-mind. When we identify ourselves with a certain form, which of course has a certain degree of freedom, but a limited degree of freedom. Any form, no matter what sort of form you identify yourself with, you are identifying yourself with a certain limited degree of freedom. And because we know limitless freedom as our own being, as our own reality, when we experience a limited freedom, we don't experience the full satisfaction. Sooner or later, we hit those walls, we hit the limitation of our defined self. And we start to experience a certain frustration. And we start to exert effort to break through those limitations and experience the boundless joy, the boundless freedom, the limitless freedom, the true absolute healing, not the partial healing, the absolute healing. And so within the capsule, when you are defining yourself in whatever way, you can explore the various degrees of freedom that you have available to you as an entity. But there is a different type of exploration where you can explore limitless freedom or absolute freedom or God's freedom or freedom of being. And this sort of exploration is different from the exploration of the freedom as a defined entity within certain limitation. When there is the interest in absolute freedom, in the limitless healing, let's say, then the contemplation is the contemplation of limitless being, of limitless reality, not our identified reality, which we all define in whichever way. Usually we define ourselves as the body-mind. We need to somehow go beyond defining ourselves as a body-mind, as a man, as a woman, as a mother, as a father, whatever, whichever way we define ourselves, whichever way we identify ourselves. We need to explore whether, first, am I the body? Am I the body-mind? Or am I the consciousness which perceives body-mind? Am I awareness? Or am I that which I'm aware of? Then we need to also explore, once we come to clarity, that wait, I am awareness. I am that which perceives, not anything which is perceived. Once we come to that clarity, then we need to explore whether that awareness, which is I, the reality which perceives, is contained, limited, or defined by a body-mind. Because if it is defined and contained and limited by a body-mind, then we are back to the limited freedom, the limited healing, because body-minds are limited. We all know that. So we need to explore what basis, what proof is there, what is the evidence that I, which is the reality which perceives, which is awareness, is dependent and contained upon the body-mind, is a product of the brain, or is a product of the thoughts, or is a product of mind activity. So there is a certain work to be done, a certain exploration that needs to be done in order to come to an understanding, possibly, it has to be your understanding, that I am awareness, and that this awareness is not limited on a body-mind, is not defined, is not dependent on a body-mind, is not limited, is not personal, is not contained in any container. So this is the sort of exploration that needs to be undertaken in order to come to the limitless healing, the limitless freedom. And we have the capacity, of course, what's important is the interest. But one's interest is that we have the capacity to contemplate these questions, because we are this awareness. We are awareness. It's not that we need to study awareness by getting a very advanced degree, postdoctoral degree in philosophy. No, this awareness, consciousness is available to us as there's a reality to consciousness right now. The I am conscious. There's consciousness right now, awareness right now. So we have, but we're fully equipped for the understanding about truth. That experientially, we have no experience of awareness, meaning, to be clear, by awareness or consciousness, I use the same term here. What I refer by consciousness and awareness is the reality which perceives right now. There is a reality right now, the reality of consciousness, and it's aware. It's not an empty blank, consciousness. It's an aware presence. We have no evidence of consciousness or awareness being located in any location. Of course, there is a belief that maybe it arises out of the brain, but a belief. But I'm talking about experientially. We need to investigate whether we have evidence that awareness is located, for example, behind the eyes or behind the head or inside the brain or inside the heart, or there's no evidence that this awareness is a female awareness or a male awareness, or progresses with time as the body changes over time. We have no evidence whatsoever that awareness or consciousness changes over time. The only evidence we have is that the mind changes over time, meaning perceptions change over time. Thoughts change over time. The thoughts of a 12-year-old and the thoughts of a 30-year-old or a 50-year-old change over time. And not just that, the thoughts change over time every minute, every day, every hour, We have evidence of that. We all have experiential evidence that which is perceived changes over time. But do we have any evidence that which perceives, the reality which perceives consciousness, awareness, changes over time? These are questions that we need to probe into. There are quite a few questions we need to probe into. Once we are clear, first we have to be clear that there is a reality which is consciousness, and this reality is what we refer to as I, the reality which perceives. That's the first understanding. And then we have to probe the belief that consciousness is limited and personal. This would lead you to closer to your question about the, let's say, true, or the larger, let's say, the true freedom and the true healing. Now, I'm not denying that there is other types of healings where you're sort of working with, if you are a professional, you're working with clients that have a particular mind issues within the capsule, within their personal identity. They may have some internal conflicts, and then that's a different approach where you're sort of working still. You're not addressing the identity itself, but you're working within the identity to provide a certain relief. It's not really freedom, because it's still the capsule. But it provides a certain relief. Now, that's a different direction altogether, which is addressed in therapy and in various modalities that are interested in that direction. By the way, just for everybody here, if you're interested in receiving the recording of this meeting, I'm recording it, I always do, just jot your email in the chat box and I will be glad to send you a copy of this meeting, which Holger very graciously assists with that. Thank you, Holger. Okay, it's nice to see you. Hello, Holger.
Hello, Magdi.
Yes.
So then healing the person, I mean, comforting the person can be on one level counterproductive.
Well, not necessarily. Not necessarily within the identification, within the identity. Of course, from a different level, there is an understanding that this identification is an illusory. It's a choice that we make. It's a choice that consciousness makes. But I think when we are relieving somebody from their anguish, we are coming from a place of love and compassion. We are expressing the love that we are, and in a way we don't need to assume necessarily that the other is a person. It's our very self. And so, when there is a child that holds mom's hand or pop's hand and feeling comfort in having their little hand in the hand of their parent, it's a very loving gesture and a very normal gesture for us humans to engage and to be with each other in a loving way, to be non-judgmental with each other, to be non-judgmental with oneself. to, to be a friend. We don't need to complicate it with non-duality, because there is no duality. In fact, duality is a model that humans have somehow adopted. Well, let's say that duality is a model that God is playing via the human organism or the human tribe. But reality is one, or there are two realities. And so yes, it's a natural thing to help a friend, to provide comfort. It's like it's an intelligent thing and a loving thing to do. When there is a sense within ourselves that is a loving feeling, a loving expression that's coming through you.
I just remember from my past, from my background, feeling sorry for others was often in the picture.
Yeah, it's a different thing, yes.
Yes.
That's a different thing. To feel sorry is like you're a little bit better,
Mm-hmm.
Or do you feel sorry about God's doing, No. You feel sorry. Well, you've been there yourself. You've been, let me talk for myself. I've been the stupid person, the clumsy person, the hurting person, the hurtful person. So I know that's I've been there, done that, so it's all God's play. So you see, there isn't a person that God is punishing that we should feel sorry for. No, to be loving towards somebody who is unhappy or is suffering or has some anguish is a different thing from feeling sorry. We may feel compassion and we feel we wish we could help, or we wish that their pain would be alleviated, would alleviate. But pain or suffering has its place in our journey, in that suffering is a call towards God. It reminds us that the direction that we are seeking happiness, we're seeking God. And suffering is always goes hand in hand with our sense of separation, our identification, and our attachments as an identity, as a personal limited identity. We separate ourselves from the totality. We separate ourselves from each other, from the world. It's an illusory separation, of course, because separation doesn't exist. But yet, it's a play that we play, and suffering and unhappiness tell us, okay, you're going in the wrong direction. You know, you need to relax your identification and trust me, trust God, trust the universe, and not the downloads which have been conditioned throughout your life, your downloads of your mind, of your feeling state, downloads in your body, your reactions and your responses, and your various way in which you get triggered as a person. You know, the way we protect and defend this illusory me. We spend our life spinning that way. And it's pretty miserable because it's a constant effort, a constant alertness, and defensiveness, and aggressiveness. But it's all God's play, you know? And the understanding about the game is also God's play. It's the part that I love. I have a preference towards the understanding.
I have a PhD in suffering.
So do I. We all do. Ha ha ha. But if you take a look at suffering, of course, there is a whole story about suffering. But when you look at suffering and you don't go into your memory and your stories about it, let's say a moment of depression, your experience is pretty simple. There are bodily sensations in the chest, in the face, whatever, in the belly. And there is a me storyline. And there is awareness. Awareness is not something that you perceive. It is the reality which perceives. And nothing is happening to awareness. On the screen, you know, the ache in the belly is increasing, or it's moving to the chest, or whatever. On the screen, there are thoughts, oh my God, what's going to happen to me tomorrow? But awareness itself, nothing is happening to awareness. So you need to become more and more familiar with the reality of awareness, of consciousness, which is, of course, right there, you know, what front center and whatever is there.
So yeah. No movie can break the screen.
No movie can break, right, no movie can break the screen, right. And because consciousness is not phenomenal, nothing happens to it. Something can happen to, happening only relates to phenomenal, the phenomena. An oak tree, a strong storm can come, or a fire can come and burn the tree. But nothing burns consciousness. And consciousness refers to I, awareness, I, consciousness, yes? Not to some concept, not to something, some thought or some, no, consciousness is a reality. It's very important to be clear about that.
Thank you.
Okay, Holger. Yes, Veslo.
If anyone doesn't have question, I don't want to dominate.
Go ahead.
So my identity as a consciousness, the place when I doesn't exist, I am aware of it, and the awareness is effortless. It's just happening. So my question is how to keep this effortless awareness into projected world. It means to be in the place where real freedom or fake freedom or real healing or not, the label don't exist at all. Yes. I am just aware, and this is effortless. And from that place, I experience only one thing without any differentiation.
Yes, yes. Yes, so when you say I am aware, you need to be clear what you mean by I. When we say I am aware, what is the I that you are talking about? Is it Ves who is aware? Is it the mind which is aware? So what is it that is aware?
Process of awareness.
Yes, so we say I am aware, meaning awareness is aware. Awareness is aware, and awareness is aware that it is aware. I awareness is aware, and I awareness is aware that I awareness am aware. This is not, there aren't two. There isn't I and the awareness. I meaning consciousness or being or reality. I means consciousness, being or reality. Is aware. Awareness is an attribute of I. In other words, whenever there is I, there is awareness. Whenever there is awareness, there is I. Whenever there is reality, there is awareness. And whenever and wherever there is being, there is awareness. So the question is, how can I awareness be aware, I guess, all the time in the world, in situations, and be always aware? How can I always be aware across time and space? Well, you simply don't need to adopt the belief that there is another I, which is something else than awareness, which can become aware sometimes and sometimes not. So you simply, in a way, you need to look deeply into the belief that I refers to a limited, personal entity. You need to look into the belief that I, awareness, consciousness, is limited and personal, that I is born. You need to look into the belief that I exist in time and space. You need to examine those beliefs. You need to examine them so closely in every details, so that whenever they arise, whenever the belief arises, I am so and so, and I need to be aware, or I need to maintain my awareness. When that thought arises, you see it immediately as a flat balloon. This is a balloon without air. You see it. It has no grounds to stand upon, because you have conducted your investigation thoroughly, and you have found no evidence whatsoever that there is another reality, or there is a limited reality, or that consciousness is limited and dependent and defined by the mind or by the body. Part of this investigation is in the contemplation of your beliefs, the inquiry, the investigation of your beliefs, that consciousness is limited and personal, that it's born, that it exists in time. And the other part of the investigation is in living as not knowing. In other words, you have to explore, now that you have lived for so many years under the belief that I, meaning consciousness, is vast, is a person, is limited and personal. You need to live and explore your life without this model. And when you do so, you will find some response from the universe to your experimentation. You will find that you will find more harmony, more flow, peace. The universe will respond to you accordingly. You cannot get a response to your question just from the mind. You have to actually experience the answer to your question by living, not knowing. Not knowing means, of course, I know I am, but I don't know what I am. I know that I am, but I don't know what I am. So this will be the path of healing.
Thank you so much.
Okay, yes. Any questions?
Yes, Magdi.
Hello, George.
Hi there.
Hi.
Just a brief follow-up. You suggested experimenting and noticing the response from the universe. Could you please say some more about that? specifically what experiments to perform, how to perform them?
Yes. So whenever you have a decision to make, you have a choice. Either to make the decision from the perspective of I am a person, something may happen to me, what will happen to me and my family and my tribe, and the feeling of being some form of threat or some form of danger. When this possible situations arises for you, worries and concern about you in time, to not proceed, not to follow what your mind is saying. If your mind is saying, I'm going to, call and report about them, or somebody is making noise next door, you're going to call and report about them. And not to pursue that thought, you just pause and allow your understanding that this other person is myself, and I truly don't know that much about what is going on. And so rather than give certainty to your mind, give more space to not knowing, including not knowing what is good or bad for you. The mind will say, well, this is good for you, this is bad for you. Not to be so certain about the directions that the mind provides you, because the mind is conditioned. Now, it's not saying it's 100% conditioned, of course, it's not at all. There's intelligence in the mind as well. So you need to sort of discern between the part which is intelligence and the part which is conditioned. The conditioned part is the part that only operates when you're assuming yourself to be a separate personal body-mind. Also, there are protective mechanisms within our body-mind, like feelings and sensations that are protective, but some of them are psychological and some of them are physiological. You need to discern between those, and that's a difficult thing to do, of course, because in the body it's not so clear which parts are physiological and which parts are psychological, because the body responds to psychological threats as if it's a physiological threat. It sort of muddies the waters. But there is the understanding about that process, and the understanding that there is reality to our experience which is never threatened, not threatened by what appears on the screen. So you need to somehow make that discernment between which threat is actually an intelligent way to respond to it and which threat is just a hoax, but there are habits in which we respond, in relationship, in life, in situations. And lots of these habits are downloads, they're psychological downloads. They don't come from intelligence and love. So to whenever the sense of impending doom or the sense of lack or the sense of fear arises, that's a very good bell, very good bell, the fear. When a fear arises, then to pause, because most often it is psychological fear. It's not, actual, like a plane is landing and there is wind and a storm and God knows if the plane is going to crash or not, and you're a passenger there. It's rarely this situation. And the sense of lack is also one of those indications that if you're following the sense of lack, that you are following the wrong path, and the worries is also worries. Of course, often there isn't clarity because we are looking at a situation. We may not have all the data in front of us. So there is a certain anticipation, let's say, of getting more data or getting to some understanding about the situation, which is different from worry. You need to make that distinction between when your mind is sort of anticipating an alert because of a situation where you're gathering information and you don't have all the pieces, and between worrying. And when worry arises, you need to discern. It's about me in time. When you are assuming yourself to be a person living in time, that something is going to happen to you, which is different from the alertness and the anticipation that a certain situation is presenting to you. And also, in terms of how you perceive your perception, we usually perceive, like in this moment, a me and a not me. We perceive that there is some part of our experience which somehow the mind says that's me, and another part of our experience which is not me. You need to realize that that's a mind, it's a download that we have. Also, the mind has sort of been somehow trained to make some identifications and some exclusions. And so you invite yourself to explore and to investigate on what basis, what reality basis, not feeling basis or belief basis, what reality basis is this not me and this is me. There are ways of exploring that. For example, you can take a look at that everything that appears to you appears in the same place, which is the same place of awareness. Whether it's a perception of your hand or the perception of an oak tree, they appear in the same space. So there is this sort of living with that contemplation that all is me, or on what basis is this me and not me. And then, of course, at your body level, at the feeling level of your body, you need to also, it's helpful to realize that all feelings, including the feeling of your body, that all perceptions are thought-like. All perceptions, they're thought-like, including a feeling. And including a perception. The perception of an oak tree is thought-like. The perception of a memory is thought-like, and the perception of a sensation or a feeling is thought-like, and that they all are equal as being thought-like, thought-like, and that the reality of thoughts is not in the thought itself. It's in awareness, in consciousness, that which doesn't come and go. Anyways, I'm not sure if I'm digressed away from your question, George. Did I? I'm not sure. So help me out here.
Yes, you've answered my question. You've answered exactly what I've asked. And let me just ask more specifically. The question of discernment seems a problem to me, like scarcity. Let me give a specific example.
Mm-hmm.
I'm retired. I don't know how long I'm going to live. I'm 82 years old. I may live another 2 months. I may live another 2 years. I may live another 20 years. Don't know. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Scarcity. Well, I don't have any more income now. Don't work. I have a finite amount of money. To what extent do I don't need to worry, but to what extent do I need to be concerned with the possibility of outliving my money, and what do I need to do about it? I mean, I'm not asking you what I need to do about practically, what bank to invest in or what stocks to buy.
I got it.
But okay, you get my question now.
Yes. So there are two aspects, One is a practical aspect where, let's say I'm 70 years old and mortality rate is 90. Okay, for example. So let's say on the average 20 more years for this body. So then there is a practical, aspect of looking, okay, what would be given the income that I have and the savings that I have accumulated up to now, how would they, how do they work out over 20 years? Is it going to be X dollars a month that I need to sort of allocate, or I need, what's the allocation amount? And then I can ask myself, well, is this realistic? If it's not realistic, it's not possible, then yes, I will need to look at some other income. You say you're not working, well, if you are not, how do you say, invalid? No, not invalid. If you're not
handicapped.
I'm sorry, what?
Handicapped?
Handicapped, yes, thank you. If you're not a handicap, then you can explore some way of income. So that will be the practical answer. Actually, I looked at this question way before I retired, because, that's a good idea to plan, to be practical about, but since you're asking this question now, at your age that you're retired, if you're not handicapped and you find, okay, heck, I need to make another X amount of money a month. Yeah, I made my math. I did my calculation 2 or 3 times. I tried to reduce this expense and this cost, and I came to a certain conclusion. Then I've got to. So then I'll start exploring if I can make some money teaching, doing something on the internet, in the local community, whatever. Anyways, that's a practical aspect to your question. There is the other aspect of your question about the worry. The answer is to that question, which is tied into the previous question. Your question is consciousness doesn't worry. There's no worry when it comes to consciousness. Actually, even when you are when you are being practical about your planning your finances, you're not worried. You're just looking at the numbers and you're making a decision. Okay, here I am. I need to go out and make X more money a month. Let me see if I can do it. There's no worry. It's just a practical. It's a right brain. Worry is, I am somebody. What's going to happen to me? I am the body. I am the mind. I'm a person. I am whatever. So that's the worry. And the answer is no. You don't need to worry, because if you are worrying, then you are adopting the model, which is the worrying machine, the worrying model. And if you adopt the worrying model, you could be a millionaire. It doesn't matter. It has nothing to do with your income or whatever. You would find some worry. you would find some worry, because the worry machine doesn't care about what it's worrying about. It just cares about worrying. You follow? About worrying.
Yeah, no, I got that. So I'll have to figure out which bank is the best one to rob. But
I wasn't meaning it that way.
no,
But
I know. I'm just joking.
no.
I know. No, I'm just joking. But more seriously, you talked about the mortality rate and probability. I'm an expert on probability. I know all about mortality rates and probability. I got it. My PhD was done in probability. But the point is, the probability is just the probability.
Yes.
You know, there is that uncertainty.
Yes.
The mortality table can tell me what happens to the average person,
Yes.
or even what happens up to the 96th percentile or whatever.
Yes.
But I can't predict what will happen to me.
No,
There's the uncertainty.
We're not predicting. We're just doing, using, you can look at the probabilities and use the highest, if the average mortality rate is 90, go to 105, whatever. Yes, that's not the point, and also, you know what? We trust the mind too much. The mind has a function. Use the mind for its purpose. Don't use the mind like you rob Alibaba's lamp and the genie is going to come out for you. Yes, that's not, the mind is not the Alibaba, Aladdin's lamp. It's not Aladdin's lamp. Aladdin's lamp is consciousness. Aladdin's lamp is consciousness. You don't need to rub it. It's there. Okay? But if you believe that Aladdin's lamp is the mind, well, good luck. Because if you do your math on 105, it may, in your case, it may be 110. But Aladdin's lamp is available to you. The mind trusts form and overlooks, it cannot do it otherwise, it overlooks the reality of consciousness, you see. So when you rely solely on the mind, you need to allocate a little bit to God. Okay, some to the mind and some to God. Hopefully a lot to God, more to God and lesser to the mind. God is there. Consciousness is seamless. It's a seamless reality. We are not separate from consciousness. We're not separate from the world. We're not separate from anything. There is one reality, which is the reality of consciousness, and lacking nothing. It is infinite creativity, infinite potential. So you need to come to understanding that consciousness is not a closed system, it's an open system. Open meaning it's an infinite, it's an infinite, it's not, there are no limits to it. And you are not separate from it. You don't stand apart from it. The more you live as consciousness, the more you adopt the model of I am, I know that I am, but I don't know what I am. And that applies not just I, universal I. I doesn't mean the body. Because then you know what you are. If you say I is the body, no. I am, and I don't know what I am. The more you live as that, the more you will be surprised by the magic.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you, Magdi. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
Okay,
Thank you.
George. Nice talking to you, George. Any questions? Yes, Bess.
Magdi, if I can take the wisdom of what was said tonight in this gathering and experience that without searching, without laboring, just resting in the awareness and let everything unfold as my awareness. I'm so tired of searching. I'm so tired to believing that the good comes from heavy labor. The awareness for me is resting place now.
In this resting place is what we are. It's always there. We are that. The hard labor is in leaving being, in leaving presence, and assuming yourself to be somebody who has to experience something special, who has to live longer, who's worried about their future, and assuming yourself to be somebody. That's what takes effort. Being is effortless. Resting as being is effortless. It's not something we have to work at. We are this presence. We are this totality. We are this awareness, consciousness. It takes no effort. If you're doing effort, it's the wrong direction. Because we only do effort in order to attain something for somebody, for this illusory me. So yes, if you are tired from seeking and efforting, you are consciousness, you are presence, effortless presence. So whenever there is effort that you notice, ask yourself, on whose behalf is this effort? For whom? What is this effort? On whose behalf? Because consciousness already is not trying to improve itself. It's not trying to find itself. It's not trying to discover itself. It already is. It knows itself. I know I am. Isness is. So it's more a resting as being, enjoying being, celebrating being, celebrating awareness, not celebrating a particular experience that awareness is playing, not celebrating a certain feeling or a great event. It's a celebration of being. It's a celebration of consciousness. I mean, consciousness is such an amazing thing, that there is consciousness, that we're aware, that there is awareness. I mean, isn't that like mind-blowing? It is. It is. And yes, consciousness takes on the form of sensations, feelings, thoughts, memories, loving feelings, regretful feelings, blah, blah. But the main thing is that there is consciousness. What we love is consciousness, is awareness itself. And we are that already. We are that. We are that. There is nothing else but that. There's everything is consciousness. There isn't like a physical reality out there and consciousness in here. No, that's just a model. It's the dualistic model, which says there's consciousness here and the world out there. No. There's no distance. There is no distance. There's no distance between consciousness and anything. There's no distance. Distance is a concept. It's okay. It's a useful concept. I mean, the distance between Philadelphia and New York City is about 400 miles. So it's a useful concept. It's okay. But I'm talking in terms of reality, in terms of meaning awareness, this totality, this reality. There is no distance when it comes to that. There's no out there and in here. It's all one reality, one. And we don't need to know what it is. And we say, oh, it is this and that. We say consciousness, we say awareness, but these are just terms to refer to reality. The mind wants to say, oh, it is this, it is that. I know it's this, it used to be that. Now, oh, you know what it is, now I don't. So I need to, find out what it is. No, it's very simple. I am. I know that I am. I don't know what I am. It's beautiful. Can we come to peace with that, or rest as that? Anything that the mind says you are is just a download, a concept, a story. With your father, a mother, a son, a daughter, a this, a that, a professor, a person, a human, and all of these are just images on the screen. They're images on the screen. You are awareness. You're not an image on the screen. You are that which perceives images. You perceive images on the screen. You perceive thoughts, sensations, feelings, images, memories, whatever. You perceive. You are the reality, and reality innately is aware. Innately, awareness and reality are one. And life is playful. A professor, with a healer, with a teacher, with a governor. Well, yeah, it's okay. Don't matter. It's a celebration. It's a play. It's not about, oh my God, what's going to happen to me? Imagine that God creates a life and it's about, oh my God, what's going to happen to me? That would be a disaster. God is love. Is love and beauty and happiness. And it's not effort, and oh, I got to figure it out. No, it's not that. It is not that. That's a sense of separation. Sense of separation is the right effort, the wrong effort. I'm failing, I'm succeeding. Oh my God, she did it, I didn't do it. How come he got it and I didn't get it? That's a sense of separation. That's separating yourself from the totality, from the whole, from that which you are, which is an illusory separation. Okay, well, very lovely to be with you all. Thank you all. George, nice to see you. Holger, Leslie, hello, Leslie. Hi, Marga. Malcolm, hello, Malcolm. Carol.
Thank you.
Wes, nice to see you, Wes. Hi, Richard. Mark, hello, Mark. Hi, John.
Hi.
Hello, D, D, hello, D. And Holly. Thank you all. I will stop the recording, and you're welcome if you want to hang out for a few minutes, but I will stop the recording. Thank you all.
Thank you, Magdi.